Welcome to Hey Therapist. I'm your host, Leslie Ross. With me is my producer, Jay Wesley Lindley. Let's get mental. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hey Therapist. We are back. This episode will be coming out in July, the first week of July. We took a little time off, or I took a little time off. I needed a break. It was kind of hectic for a little while there. Had a couple of vacations, but also had some drama in the life, which no one expects at this age, but no one enjoys at any age. But hey, took some time off and it was wonderful. It was great to get away. I had a cruise with the family. We talked about that. And then I just got back from Cuba. Had a live aboard scuba diving trip in Cuba, which was amazing. Just being on a boat and off the grid, I wasn't sure how I was going to like it. It's very strange to think about, not having connection. And one of the things that I was thinking about when I was thinking about this episode and what the first episode back was going to be, and it really is about how dependent we kind of are on our phones, on technology, on social media, on all of those things for some of us, and how important it is to be able to take those breaks and to recognize, because social media, things like that can be an addiction, and some of us have to be on our phones and some of us don't. And it's just interesting to watch, on this trip, there was one of the guys who really needed his phone. Like, he could not wait to get service, and everybody was picking on him about, because you can't Facebook. You need to Facebook. You need to Facebook your meal. You need to be on Facebook. So I guess that's one of the things he does a lot. And, as soon as he was like, well, I paid extra, so I should have the service. But service in Cuba is very different than service in any other country that I have ever traveled to. You have to have a very special plan. You can only have so many minutes. You can only do so many things. And one of the other people had gotten service when we came back into port after being anchored for the week, and he was just killing him. He's like, I need to check on my house. I need to check on my cat. I need to check on these things. And I guess I was, as much as I miss Elvis, it was nice to not have to worry about him and having to have had worried if anything had happened to him while I was gone, or if everything was okay, if everything was taken care of. So, I can understand, but also, like, in another day or two, you're going to have service. Like, just enjoy it. And it was funny because I did keep my phone on me because I use it for photographs, which, if you're watching this episode and you're looking for the video of my bright, shiny face, it's not there. You're seeing pictures and videos and things from Cuba because I did not want to get up and put on makeup and do all the things today. But you're going to get photos of my trip. I took so many photos. So I did have my phone on my person at the time. And there were times where someone would say something, or we would be discussing something. We would be thinking about the weather. What's the weather going to be? And everyone would kind of pick up their phone for a moment and realize it's just a camera. Like, at this point, it's doing nothing. It's just a kind of a brick. And that was really, really nice, actually. I didn't go on all the morning dives. I didn't go on many of the morning dives because it was my vacation. I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to have to go do things. So I would sit on the deck, and there were a couple of people that would stay on the boat also in the mornings, and we became friends, and we would hang out and listen to music and talk or not talk, but we would just sit on the deck in the open air and watch the mangroves and watch the people work around the boat and on the other boats and on the dive boats and on the fishing boats, and just enjoy the day. And it's been a very long time since I've done that I've just been still. And I think it's something that we all need, is that time to just be still and appreciate what is going on and what's happening around us and what's not happening around us. I realized as I was planning this trip, and I knew that there would be no service, no Wi-Fi, no cell service, any of that on the boat for sure. We weren't sure about what would happen when we got to Havana. I knew that my cell phone would not work. I did not even look into getting a plan where my cell phone worked, because at this point, in for a penny, in for a pound, If I'm not going to have service, I'm not going to have service. I didn't want it to pick up. I didn't want it to, every message that was coming in, work, non-related work, nonsense. I didn't want it to start popping up while I was still on vacation. I didn't want to have to worry about those things. In the real world, I am a state employee, and I knew I couldn't get to my state emails. I certainly didn't want to try to get to my state emails to create any security issues or any of those things in some random internet cafe or on public Wi-Fi in Havana. So I kind of just rolled the dice and said no. It was really nice to not have that and to have that break and to not be caught up in social media. A lot of times I am on social media because I'm bored. Like, I'm sitting at home, I'm watching TV, I'm bored. I don't have anything else to do. I don't have anybody there with me. So it's not like I'm having conversations and just ignoring someone while playing on the phone. Like, I'm just bored. But it was really a nice break. And I encourage everyone to take those breaks, even if it's just for a little while. One of the things, when we did get to Havana, we got checked into the hotel. And unfortunately, they said, oh, we have free Wi-Fi. Now, the Wi-Fi was limited. You couldn't get on a lot of sites. You couldn't do a lot of things. We were in Cuba. I was able to get on some, but they turned it off at night. It would be shut down from like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night until 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, how great is that? To have no access to anything for a little while. We used to live that way. We used to not have service. We used to not have those things except landlines. And I do remember a time when that was a thing. Maybe it's something I incorporate into my life. We'll see. It's just really, it was a really nice break. And I realized also that, I couldn't stream music, because that's the other thing that I like to do in my spare time is I'll just listen to music and play. And so I dug in that drawer, and it's the drawer we all have. And I found my iPod. Yes, I still have my iPod. I'm sure some of you listening out there still have your iPods. I wasn't even sure if it still worked. So when I realized I needed space on my phone, because my phone is also, like I said, my camera. I got one of the Sea Life housings. So my phone is also my dive camera now. So I had basically purged everything off of my phone. Any downloaded music I had, all of my photos, they're backed up to Google Photos anyway and to OneDrive. So all of my photos I moved off my phone. Like, everything was off. So it was just kind of blank space. I kept my apps, but I knew I could delete apps if I needed extra space. But the photos, the music downloads, all of those things, I knew they took up a lot of space. So I basically purged my phone. And then I realized I'm not going to have music to listen to. I'm not going to have any of that. So like I said, I dug in the drawer, I found the iPod, I plugged it in. It didn't update or anything, but it still worked. So we would go up top and sit on the top deck during the day. And even in the evening, we used it some as we were having our rum and rums and water, lots of water. We stayed hydrated. It's fine. Nothing to concern yourselves about on that note. We would sit up there, and one of the guy that ran the boat essentially would leave his speaker up there in that area. And so we would be able to Bluetooth onto his speaker with my iPod, which if you unplugged it, it died. The battery is shot. I can say that. Like, it doesn't have battery life anymore. It would play music. And so we super shuffled it up. Had some very random music, a lot of music where you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this song. And we would just sit there and let the breeze come over and feel the warmth of the sun and just watch the world go by, the sunrise and the sunsets. And it was really a great, much needed refresher for me. And like I said, I had some things that had gone on before the previous trip that really hurt my heart. There was a big disappointment by someone who I thought was very, very close to me, and a betrayal, if you will. It was a really shitty situation, and I've pretty much cut that person out of my life as much as I can. And, it is what it is, as they say, as we say, and as I truly believe. Things happen. People do things. It's not great. It's not ideal. It's the way it is. I don't have to tolerate behavior in my life, and I don't have to have people in my life that I don't want in my life. And especially someone that was, going to lie about things and double down on it. And I had that happen, and it kind of shook my world a little bit. Because even though I know people aren't always trustworthy and things happen, and sometimes the people you think that would never disappoint you will disappoint you. It happened, and it happened to me. It happens to us all. And at first I took it very, very personal. I mean, it is a very personal thing that happened, and I took it very, very personally in how could this happen? How could this person do this to me, of all people? You just feel like people have a loyalty to you, and sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And it made me very much appreciate all of the friends that I have, my core group that I know would never do something in that sense. They would never betray me that way. They would never lie to me about it, never not tell me if something happened like that. They would never do anything like that. So shout out to all of those friends that love me and that I love them back, and that I know I could trust with my life, my boyfriends, my exes, my whatevers. Sometimes people do things out of desperation, and I feel that that's what the action came from, that this person did to me was a desperate act from a desperate person. I just have no need for that in my life, and I don't want any of that in my life. And then the lying about it. And that was the other hard part, was the lying about it. Just at a certain point when you're caught, you're caught. Own up, take responsibility, and things may have ended up a little bit differently, but they didn't, and that's okay. I had that happen and was dealing with that, and then this other vacation came up, my Cuba trip, and I knew that it was going to be my chance to just get away and decompress, and that's what I did, and it was great. And if you're watching the video, you're seeing the pictures and you're seeing how cool it was. And if you've listened to me at all, or you know me, you know that being underwater is my happiest place in the world. Diving is my release. It's where I can be quiet and be myself. And I mean, I'm myself all the time, like it or not, which a lot of people don't, but it's okay because I'm not dependent on their opinions. But you can just be quiet and be still with the world. It's kind of like when you're hunting. It's kind of like when for those that fish, for those who knit, whatever your hobby is that truly takes you out of your own head. Diving is that for me. It is my happy place. It is where my soul is happiest. I'm not a big fan of diving with sharks. It's not something that I enjoy doing at all, honestly. I mean, they don't really mess with divers as much. They're not aggressive. I've never seen one be really aggressive to a diver unless someone was getting too close to them or any of that stuff. But these sharks were on every dive and they just followed you around and they were just there. So you kind of got to the point where you're like, oh, look, a shark. It's not like, oh, a shark. It's a shark. Is it the same shark? Yep, it's the same shark. All right. And they just swim with you and just hang out with you. And it was just kind of odd. And the other cool thing that were on the dives were lots of Goliath groupers. These things get as big as Volkswagens. Like, they can be giant. The ones that were hanging out with us were rather large. I mean, they were a couple of times my size. And the dive masters and the team that we dove with, they would let them swim around with us, and they were just like big old puppies. They just wanted to be around you, and you could scratch their backs. I never got any closer than a tail scratch. And I'm a big fan of, leave it as you found it. Don't touch anything, don't do anything, whatever. But they would, I had one on a dive who would bump me, just come over and just swim right next to me close enough that it would kind of bump me. And it was really cool. And it goes to show that if you're not threatening, you're not portrayed as a threat. We did not get to snorkel with the crocodiles, which was kind of disappointing. I was nervous about that. But we did not get to snorkel with them. But there was one that came to the boat. And so we played with it, we fed it, and it was just right there and just hung out. And it was just so cool. And, there was a time where when the crocodile showed up, me and a couple of the other people on the boat were playful about it. And I'm a big old kid. I am grown, and I can be grown, and I'm mature, all those things. But also sometimes life sucks, and life has sucked. And I know how bad life can suck. So when I am in the moment, I am going to enjoy it. And that's something I want everyone, if you have lost it, find your playfulness, find your joy, as the one TikToker says. Find that playfulness, because my goodness, enjoy life. Life is short. And again, terrible things happen to great people. And then terrible things just happen because they happen. Find the fun. And we were having fun, and we were down there and, just enjoying it. And, just the spectacle of this giant crocodile at the end of a boat in the middle of Cuba. Like, it was like embracing all of the things and being present and mindful and not caring what anyone thought about me being down there enjoying it, which there were comments made about me, how playful and the things, but I don't care. Like, I'm sorry your life is so unfun and you can't enjoy things, or your way of enjoying things is not the same way that I enjoy things. Let's not judge each other. Like, if I want to be down there on the base of the boat, enjoying it, being right there in the middle of it, having fun, laughing, being loud, that's who I am. If you get your enjoyment from sitting up top or leaning over a rail and watching all of that go down, great. But I hope that you're finding the joy in it. And that's one of the things that I have worked really hard on, and I want you all to work really hard on. And it's being mindful and being present, enjoying life and enjoying the little things, and not letting big things bother you, and not letting other people's opinion of you bother you. Sometimes that's really hard. This trip, I was in mixed company. I knew one person. I actually knew one person that I was on this trip with. The rest of the people were his friends. I didn't know these people. They didn't know me. I'm a delight. No, I am though. But I try to get along. I try to talk to everyone, and some of them weren't having it, and that's fine. We had this mixed group of fisher people on our boat. They were fly fishermen that were also on the same boat we were. The personalities of divers and the fly fishermen were distinctly different. But we all ended up having a great time, and I talked to everybody, which, it took a couple of days because it takes me a little while to warm up. I'm not just a social butterfly. But if someone talked to me, I talked back, and I had a great conversation. We had a gentleman on the boat who was 92 years old that had come on this trip, and his guide that he has used in the past brought him on this trip. They came together, so he kind of took care of him the whole trip. And then, of course, they had the fishing guides that were with the vacation. But, he took care of him. And this gentleman was 92 years old and living his best life. He would go out all day and sit in the sun and fish from 7 a.m. to like 4 p.m. and would come back and sit on the deck with us and tell stories and have his rum drink. And he was just living life. I hope and pray that at that age, I'm still doing the same, that there's someone out there willing to take me traveling, to take me on adventures. I can still go and enjoy and, not be sitting around feeling sorry and feeling sad and not getting out and doing things. And that's one of the things that I wanted, this first episode back to be about. And it's about finding the enjoyment in life. What makes you happy? And once you know what makes you happy, how do you do more of that? We live in very rural Oklahoma. We have lakes that we can dive in. And I'm not a super big fan of diving in the lakes, but I love to dive. And so I want to do more of that over this summer. I want to get out more. I want to be in the water more, traveling. Sometimes we can't afford to go on a big vacation, but you can afford to go somewhere. And if you can't, how do you do that around home? Having a staycation is sometimes not great because you still have access. People still have access to you. But you can also say, no, I am on vacation. You don't get access other than the people that absolutely need it. I'm not saying, we're cutting off family and saying I'm not doing anything. I'm not communicating at all. But if that's what you need, that's what you need. The people around you should understand that. And if they don't, then help them to understand why you need that disconnect. If I have my phone on all day, I'm going to get work emails. I'm going to get text. I'm going to get these things. I'm going to feel the need to respond to it because, I'm on vacation, but I'm here. But I have access. But I have the thing. No, maybe set time frames. Listen, I'm going to go camp. I'm going to go fishing, and I'm going to be on the water all day. And while I'm on the water, I'm not going to have my phone. So you have access to me until whatever time I leave in the morning, 6, 7, 8, whatever time it is. And whatever time I get back in the evening, be it after dark, when the sun's going out, whatever it is. But while I'm out on the water, I'm turning my phone off. It's okay to do that. It's okay to take those breaks. Hopefully your people will understand. And if they don't understand that you need that, that may be a them thing. It may be one of those things where you're like, listen, I need it. And I don't know why you don't understand why I don't need it. But let's talk about it. Let's figure out why you don't understand why I don't need it. You got to make it clear. You've got to let someone have a clear understanding of why you need what you need. And if they can't meet that, then maybe that's not your person. Unless you've done something where, maybe you've done something where you can. But if you haven't, then they need to work on that. That's a them thing. Like, hey, how do I help you understand this better so that I can get what I need and you can get what you need, but I'm not sacrificing what I need. For example, on this trip, sometimes people need what they need. I've talked about it before, but if you haven't listened, go back and listen to all the episodes. They're available anywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube. I am a scuba instructor. I've been teaching for over 20 years. I've been diving for over 30. Yes, I'm that old, but I also started very young. But I hate night dives. Hate them. However, I'll still go on one because at night you get to see different things. So my dive buddy, I said, listen, I need you to stay with me. Like, it's a night dive. I'm perfectly capable of handling anything that goes down in the water. I'm not fearful of anything, but it makes me more comfortable to have someone right there with me. Because on a night dive, it's real easy to get separated, especially when the water isn't great visibility. Everyone goes down in a big cluster. It gets kind of chaotic. It becomes more flash dancing instead of night diving. Like, it's chaos in the beginning and then everyone kind of gets in a row and you go on. I wanted to listen, stay with me. We can go down, whatever, but stay with me. This was the agreement. My buddy did not stay with me. It really irritated the shit out of me, honestly. I'll just be real honest about it, because we had a discussion about it. We had a dive plan. This was the plan. It was agreed upon. We get in the water. Within 10 minutes of being in the water, I have no idea where my dive buddy is. All of the lights look the same, except for the couple of us that had larger camera lights, and the dive master had a can light. So it was a lot brighter. So I see one camera. I'm like, okay, I know that's not him because he just has a regular dive flashlight, which if you know anything about them, they all look the same underwater just about. You're not going to tell the difference, and you can't see the person. So I can't see what color fins you have. I can't see what, swim shirts you have on. I can't do any of that. So I see camera, I see can light. So I go to the dive master and just hang behind him, around him, close to him. So I knew I was with the person that knew where we were going, because these reefs are all unfamiliar to all of us. No one knew where we were. In a night dive, it's very easy to get turned around. It's easy to lose where you are, and you can lose lights pretty quickly. I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay with the dive master. Plus, you see more things because they know where the things hide. They're used to these reefs. They know where you normally might see this, that, or the other. I stayed with the dive master. I do have to say, on this dive, I saw one of the biggest octopus I have ever seen in my life. It was giant. It's in the pictures. If you're watching the video, it's in the pictures. It was, by the time I got to where he had already started to shrink back, but he was spread and probably had a 5 to 6 foot tentacle spread. This thing was massive. It was crazy big. So I'm so glad that I did the dive. I'm very happy that I saw him, and we saw another octopus and a couple eel. It was a great dive all in all. But I was super irritated through the whole thing because I had simply asked to stay with me, and it was agreed upon. Later, we had a conversation about it because I was highly irritated about this. There was no denying it. The verbiage came from my dive buddy of, well, you should have stayed with me if you were nervous. Like, what, bro? First, I really wasn't nervous. I just like to have someone there because it's a night dive, and it's good to have a buddy on a night dive just in case you do have to surface. 2 lights are better than 1. All of the reasons that you should stay with your buddy on a night dive. Also, what? Because we had a discussion. You agreed to the dive plan. You also don't know where we are. You didn't know these reefs. You didn't know where we were. But one little reef head over and you're in the wrong spot. You're on the wrong mooring line. Night dives are one of the only times where I am like, okay, everyone really stay with a group. Like it can get scary. It can get dangerous. Like you're putting yourself in a position to not be safe. Whereas during the day, you can spot a bubble. You can look over and see someone. You're still kind of with the group. You can kind of trail off if you want to chase a critter to get a good footage, like my footage of the turtle, where I was like, deuces, I'm going to go get this turtle real quick. And then I came back with the group because I could still see the group. I could see bubbles. I could see fins. I could see all of the things. Night dives are not that way. That was what I got. It was very gaslighty. It was very disrespectful. And I'm like, okay, noted. You're not a dependable dive buddy. It was one of those things where I'm like, really though? Like, are you serious that this is your comeback? There was not you know what? My bad. I lost you, which you couldn't have lost me because again, my light was one of the 3 brightest lights under the water. But you really just said that to me. Like we had a plan, you agreed to the plan, and then you didn't stick to it. And now you're going to make me feel or you're going to try to make me feel some type of way because I should have just stayed with you while you were going the complete other way than the group to look at something. No. So I'm like, okay, noted. But it's about expressing that need. And if people meet those needs, they meet those needs. And if they don't, they don't. And you just know that is a person that is not going to meet the basic needs that you ask for. So I didn't ask for anything else. It's fine. I'm not asking for anything else from you. It just really, it's just one of those things that, and I know this is all over the place. It was a long week, okay? But, I was like, that's disappointing, but I have found that out now. And that's kind of what happened with, the event that happened before I'd went on the cruise with the other. It's like, wow, that's really, the other was heartbreaking. This was disappointing, but ultimately it's all just disappointment. Like that's disappointing. But also there's these other people I can depend on. But also there are people that are here for me. There are people that support me. And it has nothing to do with me. These other things that happened have nothing to do with me. They have to do with someone else's poor self-esteem, self-worth, whatever it is. Their mental illness, their mental health struggles. It has to do with someone else being arrogant or disrespect. I don't know what that boiled down to. But, it's like, okay, cool. Noted. I am a person of my word. What I say I will do. If this person would have said, stay beside me, I would have stayed beside them. Even if I didn't want to. Even if they weren't doing what I wanted to do. Even if it was going to be a different dive for me than what I planned. I would have stayed right beside that person. Because I know what it's like to be nervous going down. And I know what it's like to have anxiety in the water. I remember those times. I've dealt with enough students with it. So, there's most of the time, the things that you have planned may not end up the way you thought they were, but sometimes it ends up even better. And this last trip I went on, it was not the trip I thought it was going to be, but it's ended up being better. I had a blast. I've met so many new people who were kind to me. I have new friendships and I have this kind of new group that I'm interested in getting to know and diving with again and having fun with. And I think it's just expectations can really ruin something if you stand on those expectations. It was not the trip that I expected, but it turned out to be even better. People sometimes disappoint you and they're not the friend or family member or whatever it is that you expected them to be. And that's okay because you may have other chosen family and friends who will never disappoint you, who will always stand by your side. And so it's so important to find your joy and only to allow people in your life that you want in your life and only to allow people to affect you if it's someone you want to allow to affect you, because everyone is going to disappoint you at some point. They're going to make you sad. They're going to make you upset. They're going to piss you off. They're going to make you cry. Most likely, everyone in your life is going to do that. It's how you recover from that and how important it is for that relationship and how people take responsibility for their actions, or you take responsibility for your actions and own whatever it is that you had to do or whatever happened. You own that and you go through that. and you move forward. I wanted to bring this episode back and come back refreshed, and I'm still tired. I still have laundry. There's a pile of things that need washed. But you know what? It'll be there. It's not going anywhere. It's not hurting anything. I had a great time all in all, and I embraced not having technology, and I was worried about that. I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to do that, and I think we all are. I think because we've been so connected to everything for so long, we literally have the world at our fingertips. And when the thought of not having that, not being able to check in on work, not being able to check in on people, not being able to let my mom know I'm okay, just those little things, you're like, oh goodness, like this is pretty stressful. And it was very stressful in the beginning. Like I really thought it would affect me more. But once I realized there's nothing I can do about it and really gave up that locus of control, sometimes that's what we need to do in life, is just give up that control and say, this is what's happening and I'm okay with it. Gosh, I had the best time. It was so wonderful to not have to answer work things, to not have to check my phone to make sure I didn't miss anything, to not have to look at emails, to not have to do any of those things. And I highly recommend everyone take a technology break. I have caught myself not being on social media as much, not checking emails as much, not going through things as much. And so I really hope that I can stick with that. I hope that that's something that stays with me, is the recognition that I don't need to be on my phone. Now, I do have to promote. I do social media for the podcast. I am my own social media manager. If anybody wants to do that for free, I'll let you. I have to promote. I have to do the things. I have to do all of those things. But just personal use, I want to stick with the cutting back of it. It was a less stressful week. I wasn't seeing all the news. I wasn't seeing all of these things. I missed some very important memes that I had to catch up on when I came back. It's just one of those things that I want everyone to find their joy. Life is hard. Life is stressful. Life is hectic. And sometimes we feel like we can't. We can't step back. We can't separate from that. We can't do any of that stuff. But I promise you can. It'll all be there. It'll all be there when you come back online. And there's most of the time not anything so pressing that you have to have your phone in your hand looking at it all the time. Enjoy the dinner. Put the phone down just for dinner, for breakfast, for your morning coffee. Put the phone down. Enjoy the world. Sit outside. Sit inside. Just don't have your phone. Don't be looking at things or getting stressed about the news. The world is a crazy place. Take your breaks from that. Find your joy. Find what makes you happy. And if it's something, someone, a task, a hobby, whatever it is. I have a friend who thoroughly enjoys house cleaning. It is what she enjoys to do. Oh, it fascinates me because God love her. I do not. It makes her happy to clean, to have all the clean. And I enjoy having a clean house. Don't get me wrong. But the process of cleaning is what she enjoys. It's not even the reward of it. It's the process. And I'm just like, come, whenever you get bored or you're done over there, you can certainly come over and do mine too. It's whatever it is. And it may not make sense to other people, and it doesn't have to. Find what makes you happy and do more of it. That's what I want to leave this episode on is, just be happy. Be happy in what you do. Be happy in life. And if you're not happy, figure out why. And if you can't make big sweeping changes, if you can't change your job, if you can't change your living situation, if you can't change all of that, then find a way to do it and find a way to incorporate those things that can make you happier, because that's what's important, is finding the little things that can make you happy. And sometimes it is very little things, and sometimes it's moments and times, and sometimes it's just call to someone that makes you smile, or sending a meme, or even being on TikTok and finding something funny to share, or remembering a story and sharing that. Find those moments to be happy, because it's very important to be happy in life and not take yourself so seriously. If people think you're being ridiculous, let them think you're being ridiculous. If you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, that's what's important. And if they're not, that's on them. Let them figure it out. Thanks for listening. And I hope If you're watching, you enjoyed all of the Cuban pictures. I know I can't fit them all in here. This episode's not long enough to put all the pictures I took, but I'm going to put them on there and you can enjoy that. And we'll see you next episode. For my producer, Jay Lindley, I'm Leslie Ross. Thank you all for joining us. Please send any questions or comments through the website, heytherapist.com, or email help@heytherapist.com. They may be featured on the show anonymously. Hey Therapist is an SEOK radio production and is for your entertainment purposes only. Thank you for joining us. Make good choices.